Hello, this is George Senda, the guy from Pittsburgh, and this is a preface to my Donald Trump talk video. And I found three figures who all said that JFK was shot from the front, including one of his press spokesmen from the White House on December 22nd, 1963. And yet you have this whole thing of he was shot from the back. Now, how do you get the head blown out from the back if you're shot from the back? That's one of my questions. And a piece of Kennedy's skull back here was found lying in the street after the assassination by a bystander who turned it over to authorities. So this is another big reason why I don't believe Oswald did it, because the whole Warren Commission report was based on the premise that it was Oswald, and we have now the revelation that Hoover said we must convince the American people that it was Lee Harvey Oswald and no one else. The fix was in, and the only question is one day maybe we'll find out who actually engineered the killing of John Fitzgerald Kennedy. All right, this is George Senda, the guy from Pittsburgh. Have a good night. Stay cool and safe out there and enjoy the video. Bye-bye for now. Hello, this is George Senda, the guy from Pittsburgh, and I want to talk about the Donald Trump JFK papers, and this is Donald Trump talk. And I've gone through some of them, and I find some very odd stuff. One from 1961 says, do not terminate a woman who is giving the CIA information, and apparently she was from either Mexico or Cuba, and she was giving information on the Guatemalan government. And I wondered if terminate meant do not terminate her as an informant, or do not terminate her as terminating with extreme prejudice. In other words, they kill her. And that was odd. And then there's a list like this long of documents on Frank Sturgis, the convicted Watergate break-in guy who claimed he was a CIA killer, and the CIA has said he never was an employee of the CIA. And there are pictures of him with Lee Harvey Oswald and David Ferry when they were in the Civil Air Patrol together in New Orleans. So that's very odd. And some have said that Sturgis is one of the three vagrants arrested at the JFK assassination site by the grassy knoll. And I've looked at the pictures, and it's not Sturgis. It's somebody totally different. And then there's a guy who claims that he assassinated Kennedy. He's in prison for killing a guard. What was the other one? Some really odd stuff where I saw on one side a letter asking for information on John McCain's father. The FBI normally pretty much keeps everything. They destroyed those documents. And there's a picture of Sturgis with Lee Harvey Oswald as Oswald is giving out Fair Play for Cuba leaflets, and it looks like the same picture where we have seen pictures the National Enquirer has published of Ted Cruz's father. So they were there standing outside the office building that happened to be a front on one floor, the CIA in New Orleans. This is why I don't believe Oswald was the killer. If he was set up by the CIA. And speaking of the CIA, Donald Bain has died. Now, those who don't know who Donald Bain was, he was a ghostwriter for the Murder, She Wrote series, Jessica Fletcher and Donald Bain. Those are pretty good mystery books. And he wrote the Coffee, Tea, and Me series. Well, he wrote the book on Long John Neville and the book on his wife, Candy Jones. And I was thinking about him a couple of days ago. I wonder if I could contact this guy. It'd be interesting to talk to him on the phone, what he knows about Candy Jones. Now, Candy Jones said she was an MK Ultra type who was brainwashed by the CIA to be an assassin, and she would kill people, and they would have no knowledge of it afterwards, and it screwed with her head. So he died at 82. So there's always these tie-ins to the CIA. And the Trump papers, the Sacramento Bee said, Trump has let us down by not releasing these papers. Well, I agree with Lou Dobbs, who said they've had 25 years to redact these papers. Why are they waiting now? They could have easily blotted out all this stuff. And he said it's ridiculous. And they had the former Trump advisor on there, and he said it's either for security reasons, past security people, or present, but after 47 years, this is an excuse. They just are doing it to embarrass the president, President Donald J. Trump. And I agree with that. So you got 300 documents that aren't going to be released, and one guy, very funny line, said this is all racist because they keep using black to not blot out names instead of white out it. So I thought that was funny. It's racist to use black to cover up names and information on these documents. But the CIA, of course, it has anti-Trump elements, as does the FBI. And then we've had nobody say, why hasn't the NSA released their documents on the JFK assassination? Oh, and one other thing. There are a number of contacts, there's one document in there where Lee Harvey Oswald goes to Russia and meets with a KGB assassination on his passport. That guy later defected, and the interrogation of that guy, and it's something like Kuznetsov or something like that, those have never been released by the CIA either. And the oddest thing I found, other than the termination document, was a request by the CIA in Mexico City for a picture of Lee Harvey Oswald. This was October 22nd, 1963. Now, we have a guy that supposedly the CIA knew about Oswald's defection to Russia. They knew about what he was doing. They were monitoring his movements. And yet the CIA in Mexico City had to ask for a picture. Now, there's supposedly two different Oswalds, I have it in one of my books, that showed up at the Mexico City embassy. One was taller than Oswald, looked a little like him, but wasn't Oswald. And then in 1975, there's a reference in another document to a request for a picture of Lee Harvey Oswald. And the odd thing is, in several documents, they have information on Harvey Lee Oswald. Now, I don't know if this is an error or if this was an alias Oswald were using or an alias that someone else was using. But that's very odd. Why would you call him Harvey Lee Oswald? I think people will have to pour through these documents that have been released for months to find little tidbits about that. But you actually had confirmation that once the CIA was done with you, they would terminate you with extreme prejudice. So I went through about 20 of these files, and those are what I've found so far. So David Ferry, Frank Sturgis, who changed his name, and he was a pro-Castro guy and changed his stripes. So, and E. Howard Hunt and James Angleton, he's in these documents, all CIA ties. And Kennedy was probably in part killed because he fired the head of the CIA, and Johnson gets in and names the head of the CIA to the Warren Commission. Hello! And the other thing, the Russians thought that Johnson killed or plotted to have JFK killed so he could become president. And I'm sure there's no documents proving that out there, because that would have all been disappeared a long time ago. But I can believe it. All right, this is George Senda, the guy from Pittsburgh. I'll continue to look into this as I can. And this has been Donald Trump talk. And the CIA sandbagged the president, made him look bad. Sandbagged, sorry. And they, like the other agencies, the State Department, the FBI, and Republicans like Senator Flake and the other one, they constantly talk crap about the president because they're rhinos or they're leftists, as we have many leftists and Obama people still in the CIA, the FBI, who are out to stop the Trump presidency at all cost. All right, this is George Senda, the guy from Pittsburgh. Have a great evening and stay cool and safe out there if you can. Bye-bye for now.